I found some old Hollywood movies that can help show the template. I've been just trying different ideas, and I hit on this. Let me see how this looks to you. First of all, take a look at something from Jason and the Argonauts from a late 60s. Both of these are late 60s. We have Jason and the Argonauts and the Ten Commandments. And I won't get into the movies in a lot of detail. I just want to make this a quick video and show some pieces. Take a look at this first from Jason and the Argonauts.
Hera, Queen of Gods, protect this child, my sister Philomela.
And now this from the Ten Commandments.
God of Abraham, take my child into thy hands, that he may live to thy service.
All right, well, pending interest in this kind of video, I will just go ahead and talk about a couple of things quickly and not get into a lot of detail. I will try to get this, I'll try to end this video painlessly. If we look at the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell, the upper left right here, I just want to talk about this very quick. The call to adventure, the refusal of the call, supernatural aid in crossing the first threshold. What we just witnessed was part of the call to adventure. But let's take a look at how these movies continue to act out the storyline. Let's go back to Jason and the Argonauts again and see that in the beginning, Jason is scheduled to be killed as an infant.
Then Aristo will have no children.
He has 3, Pelias. 2 daughters, Philomela and Brises, and a son, Jason.
Then 2 daughters and a son will die with their father tonight.
And our friend Moses, what happens to you?
Every newborn Hebrew man-child shall die.
However, we find out later that, guess what? Jason was saved.
But be content. The boy Jason has escaped. He will avenge you.
And then we find out that Moses was saved.
This child was put upon the water to save its life from your father's edict.
All right, if we go back and look at the steps again in the template, we see the call to adventure is kind of underway, but I'm going to suggest that there's more than that right here. We're actually seeing as a selection process, too, that it's being individually selected, a smaller group of people. Next, we have a refusal to call. I'm going to skip that for a second. Let's take a look at supernatural aid. Does Jason get supernatural aid?
Ah, Jason come to Mount Olympus at last. No man calls upon the gods unless he wants something. We arranged for you to be brought here by Hermes.
I wouldn't have believed a mortal could ask the help of the gods.
And does Moses get supernatural aid?
I am here. Put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground.
All right, as we go along, we can see how different the stories sound, but how they're actually following some sort of a mentally conceptualized template. There's something else going on here because there are things sequencing that are identical throughout. Well, let's go back and take a look at the refusal of call. That does come about, but there's something that is in here that is going to be conspicuously visible to everybody. I'm going to suggest that this path is actually a self-healing path, and one step that was not identified in here, I'm going to add it in right now, is difficulty in leaving your past behind. And then let's go take a look at a couple of examples in both of these movies of that very thing. And again, in the interest of keeping these short, I will not detail a lot of stuff. There's going to be some expectation that you have some knowledge about this already, or that it doesn't matter at this point in time. We're just looking at those similarities, and that later on we can get into it more, or we actually should read the original material to get it right. But these are videos. Let's have fun. Let's play with it. Okay, this is in Greek myth. Thanos and this island that they are on here represents the old self, the past that they need to leave behind. So let's see what happens when they're supposed to leave the past behind.
We reach land at noon. Then you can fill your bellies until they grumble as much as your tongues. Now mark this. It will be safe to take food and water, but nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. Ashore for food and water.
Are goats good sailors?
Goats? What are you talking about? Well, what do you want with goats on board ship?
Well, some of us might be hungry. Or thirsty.
Come on. Here's one for the plot.
Oh! Hercules! Isn't he one of the Titans?
He might be. He's big enough.
Didn't Jason say something about Talos? This must be where Hephaestus molded the statues of the gods.
Yes. And set them up for all the world to see.
Hercules?
It's a treasure chamber.
The treasure chamber of the gods.
Look at this.
And this. A pearl.
It's a javelin.
Don't be silly in a jewel box. It's a brooch pin.
Well, whatever it is, it'll make a useful weapon. Let's get back to the ship.
Hercules,
Well, what is it?
you'd better put it back.
Why?
Remember what Jason said?
It won't be missed. Anyway, if the gods leave all this lying about unguarded, they obviously don't want it. Come on.
Okay, let's play around a little bit with this one. Not only are they in the past, and they're in an area that represents the past that they need to leave behind, but they went so far as to actually go into a treasure chamber, opening a door, going into a place where all of this stuff is located that they're supposed to leave alone, which represents the structure of the past, the mind, the who and what you are. I'm mad about this. I'm angry about that. I don't like this. I'm going to pretend this. I'm not going to let on to that. All of those things are the past that we want to leave in the past. That is what's represented in the treasure chamber. Look for those in some stories. It's not everywhere, but you do find them in a lot of mythology. Chambers, caves, somehow something that needs to be entered. Tombs, actually, you'll find that in Hebrew work.
It must have been the wind.
saw nothing of them after that.
Perhaps Hercules found a woman after all.
Tails! How can I fight him?
Think before you waste the gift of the gods.
Against the man of bronze, our weapons are useless. I repeat that question.
Then I must answer it. Fight Delos with your wits rather than your courage, and look to his ankles.
His ankles?
There is nothing else I can tell you.
All right, they almost escaped, but Thanos caught him before they got away and destroyed him. And then we see that there's, going back the ankle, we're going to get into the point where we're going to see where Jason removes the lifeblood of the past.
Jason!
You disobeyed my order.
Lure him to these rocks, but stay out of reach.
And what will you do?
I shall hide here, Acastus.
And I shall do my very best to send him to you, Jason. My very best! Hercules, you left him.
You must leave the past in the past when you were on the inward healing journey. That's what's nested in this hero's journey. Ready for anybody to turn inward. Let's go take a look at the Hebrews. Now we have the same thing going on, where in the Argonautica, I am Jason as I'm going on the adventure. In the Ten Commandments, I am Moses as I'm going on the adventure. And the Phanos represents the past, and the island there represents the past in the Argonautica that you must leave behind. And in the Ten Commandments, it's going to be represented by Pharaoh, who must we must escape. And let's see what happens. Pharaoh initially says we can go.
Go out from among us, you and your people. I set you free.
Death to the slaves! Death to their God!
All right, can you kind of see those story plot lines holding something, like a tortoise and the hare story, that there's something there, but there's something nested in it? That's what we're looking for, is the nested parts. Now, those ones line up fairly easily, and I'm just grabbing bits and pieces to actually align them. What I want to suggest right now, though, is that we don't always see the steps laid out incredibly visible. Sometimes the steps are combined, and they can be. It depends on what you're doing. And in the Ten Commandments, there's a couple of steps that are combined that are separated in the Argonautica. What I'm going to do is first go through the Argonautica and look at them. Then we'll go to the Ten Commandments and look at how they all put together. What we have next is another part of the template that is not identified. And this is that there is some sort of cyclical issue. Since this is a psychological process right here, that's what we're actually looking for. We've got some kind of problems that are cyclically coming after us that just we can't get rid of. We've got something wrong with our past. This coincides with our past, the cyclical issues and the difficulty in leaving our past behind. Let's take a look at how that happens in Jason and the Argonauts.
Zeus, I was a sinner. I've never tried to deny it. But I didn't sin every day. Why then do you punish me every day?
In the name of the gods are they?
Jason!
Are you Phineas?
Yes.
Take my arm. I can't see yours. Don't flinch. Zeus gave me the gift of prophecy, but I misused it, so I was blinded. Zeus ordered the harpists to torment me. You, Jason, now listen to me. The gods have ordered me to tell you whatever you want to know. But the gods have gone too far with me. They can punish a man so much, and then one day he abandons them. He says, all right, Zeus, throw a thunderbolt. Let the earth swallow me. I defy you. You growl away all you like, Zeus. I mean what I say. Jason, I'll tell you what you want to know. Only if you'll meet my price.
What is your price, then?
Free me from these tormenting harpies.
If Zeus sent those creatures to plague him, we'd be unwise to interfere.
That's my price.
Then we'll meet it, Phineas. We'll make you the master of the harpies. Find some wood to build a cage.
Here you are, you hungry fella. A baked fish for you and some more wine.
Well, Phineas, we've completed our part of the bargain.
What is it you want to know?
The way to Colchis.
The way to Colchis is through the Clashing Rocks. Steer northwest and you'll reach them in 5 days.
Northwest, eh?
After the Clashing Rocks, you turn northeast. And before long, you'll sight the shores of Colchis. But tell me, what gods protect you?
None now.
Then you won't pass the Clashing Rocks.
What are the clashing rocks?
They speak for themselves, don't they? All I can offer you is this. It's not much reward for what you've done, but it's all I have.
If that's all you can tell us, then goodbye.
And actually, in that area, we do have some Ten Commandments storyline that is specific to it, that is not combined. Let's take a quick look at a short piece here.
You have come to curse them. We will learn if a god of shepherds is stronger than the gods of Pharaoh. Water of life, give drink to the desert, and make green the meadow.
Aaron, stretch out my staff against the waters.
Look! There! Where he struck the river. He bleeds. The water turns to blood.
Blood flows from the gods.
See how it spreads. It is blood.
That you may know the power of the Lord. For 7 days Egypt will thirst.
7 days without water will
Fill every jug and jar.
Pestilence will be everywhere.
For it's 7 times 7 days. No magician's trick will set your people free. Sacred water, make pure the flood from which you came.
And God smote the land with all manner of plagues, but still Pharaoh's heart was hardened.
Great one, you hear the cry of Egypt.
They would cry louder if they had to make the bricks. Send them away.
The people have been plagued by thirst. They've been plagued by frogs, by lice, by flies, by sickness, by boils. They can endure no more.
Why do you bring this worker of evil before me?
The people desert the temples. They turn from the gods.
What gods? You prophets and priests made the gods that you may prey upon the fears of men.
Okay, so we had the harpies continually harassing Phineas. He couldn't eat. He was not able to eat until they resolved that for him. And then we see the plagues happening cyclically as well. And they're both looking for relief. And again, the relief in the Ten Commandments is going to come in one big scene instead of a couple of sequences. All right, all we've got left for this first section here in this video to get through the first threshold is now to cross the threshold. But let's quickly review the call to adventure selection. He was selected by staying isolated out at birth. We did not see a refusal of the call in this one. However, we did have a difficulty in leaving the past behind, represented by the island of the past, the old gods, and anyone who tried to leave with anything didn't get out of there, did they? We have cyclical problems that are constantly after us that we need to leave behind. This is all in the world before we cross the threshold. And then we've had our supernatural aid along the way. Let's go ahead and cross that first threshold and just see what that adventure is like, in the movie anyway. I realize this is dramatized.
You've left me only one move.
The gods of grace are cruel. In time, all men shall learn to do without them.
Jason and the Argonauts have crossed the threshold. Okay, now what we're going to look here in the Ten Commandments, here's what we're going to see is that the plagues happen, Pharaoh tells them to go. Then Pharaoh is mocked, he decides to go after them anyway, so there's the difficulty in leaving the past behind. They chase them behind, they get trapped, they hold them off with a firing pillar. God helps them part the sea, so they're opening up their threshold to go through, and then as the sea closes behind them, that is actually cutting off the past. When they killed Thanos on the island before because he was coming after them, in this case, the soldiers are representing that, the ones that are on the chariots that get swept up in the flood, and they are the ones that are getting that cuts you off from the past. And Pharaoh, like in the where the harpies were pestering them continuously, and they could be caged but not killed, Pharaoh in the same way is left behind on the other side of the barrier. The Hebrews, Moses, we have crossed the threshold. At the end of this, watch this.
Shall I tell you what happened, Ramses?
He spurned me like a strumpet in the street.
I, Nefertiti, Queen of Egypt.
All that you wanted from me, he would not even take.
You hear laughter, Pharaoh?
Not the laughter of kings, but the laughter of slaves on the desert.
Laughter. Laughter! My son, I shall build your tomb upon their crushed bodies. And if any escape me, their seed shall be scattered and accursed forever. My armor, war crown. Laughter. I will turn the laughter of these slaves into wails of torment. They shall remember the name of Moses, only that he died under my chariot wheels.
Kill him with your own hands.
Let the trumpet sound. Alert the watchtowers. Assemble all the chariots at the city gate. I obey. Your in Thebes will draw my chariot. I will bring you back your temple treasure.
Bring it back to me, stained with his blood.
I will. To mingle with your own.
Okay, so even though we saw that Pharaoh originally had said go ahead and go, now we see that he's being harassed and being told that he's going to be laughed at. So that's all it takes, and he changes his mind and he's going to mobilize and go after them. Back after them now, representing how the difficult you can't just take off and go. You can't just leave your past. It's tough. When I finished this video, I had some copyright issues right here in this part. I'm going to try to work around it. So what happens in the Ten Commandments or the story from Moses is that they have gotten away. They have left. They were told to leave. Then Pharaoh, who was shamed, decided, I'm going to come back after you. The Israelites have left. They've gone so far as to make it up against the Red Sea. And Pharaoh is coming after them. So what Moses has to do is to invoke God's help, who then opens the sea. The Israelites flee through the sea. The men from Pharaoh are chasing them coming after them in the open sea, but they're behind them a ways. They're not caught up to them, but they're chasing them down. And just as all the Israelites make it through, the waters collapse back in, drowning and killing all of the men that were chasing him, trapping Pharaoh on the original side and leaving Moses and all of the slaves free on the other side. Hopefully that'll work. I'm just adding this in instead of the video. Then I'm going to go back to what my original commentary was. I finished up all that video, and then when I posted it, it wouldn't allow it to be shown. So this picks up where I was just talking about the video, and I'll post a link below where you can watch it. And basically I'm showing the similarities between the water crossing, at least in this case. There's incredible visual similarity, but I know that's a Hollywood thing. But the story similarity is there. Going through a narrow passageway, having it close behind you, leaving the past in the past. That's all I wanted to show you. I didn't talk very much about each one of them. I just grabbed parts that they look very visually similar and they sound very similar as well. And in most cases, they're doing the same thing. All right. And I promise you, I glossed over this. There's actually more to it. There's a lot of detail. I just wanted to kind of hit those high points and make some comparisons and try to show that different things that are sequencing along the way in a couple of examples where it's fairly easy to see. The template continues to play out in both stories, so you can see how much longer it would be. This is the media of a culture that is intelligent from 2,000, 3,000 years ago, and the stories network. They continue to, well, I can stretch a lot of things together at this point. It's just cracking in to begin with. Before I end this, if you made it this far, I'm going to show you the opening sequence of the Argonautica. And again, I realize this is movie dramatization. It's not exactly right, but they grabbed various, there were a couple of different versions of that story. And if you go look for the Argonautica to watch it, you'll find different versions of it. And that's the reason why different people did various things with it. And what I'm going to do is just show the opening sequence, though. And what I'm going to show you is that in this template, I'm finding something a little bit different. I'm finding that there is a requirement to determine a destination as well. And, well, let's just open this up and take a look at it. And I'm going to update the template as we go into something that I believe we can all see.
Well?
Zeus, king of the gods of the Greeks, write in the ashes so that I may read the future. I see a great tree at the end of the world. And in its branches there hang the skull and the skin of a ram. They gleam and shine, for it is a prize of the gods, a golden fleece.
We've no time for riddles and mysteries. Tell me of tonight.
All right, this is one that I would like to add in because every one of these stories creates a destination. Now, in some cases, if the story is like this, it is a physical destination held in the story, or a physical item that you're supposed to get. In spiritual or other kind of stories, it's something different. It might be, instead of getting the golden fleece in order to rule your kingdom, it'll be to make two into one in order to live in the kingdom of God, to experience the kingdom of heaven within. Buddha would simply tell us to seek emptiness for nirvana, that state of non-connectedness by letting things go that you're clinging onto. When we start using analogous terminology, what we're going to find out is that there is one destination on this path that all of us are looking for, and it is it's a mental state of being, and that all of these are going to be analogs for that. But it's an important part because it establishes the path. Think about this. If you're going on a trip someplace, you're going somewhere. You need to stay on course. Establishing something here too, a mental state of being, as we're going through interpreting, it's the same thing. It helps us stay on course. At some point you might be thinking, well, the ghost, holy, spiritual, somehow, something, cyclops, this, that. You could say, what is my destination? It is this mental state of being. Am I on course with my interpretation or not? That is how we stay, that's how we know where to go. The far side of the world, that is the place where we began. And the golden fleece represents the emptiness before we became hurt as we were young kids. That starts right off here. And the far side of the world being where we began. As we interpret this, it is our world. It is our life. The story is about us and about who and what we are. So the far side of the world is not the far side of the planet. It is the far side of our existence. And where did we start? We started with a state of emptiness and happiness, and we want to get back to that. This is that representation in this story.
Elias, you will conquer tonight. You will overthrow the kingdom of Thessaly. You will kill the king, Aristo, and wear his crown. You will do all these things without fear or wound, because Zeus commands it.
If I am protected by Zeus, I will have no need of this.
I hope this doesn't bug you. Watch this. Let's pick this apart. Go back and listen to this again.
Elias, you will conquer tonight. You will overthrow the kingdom of Thessaly. You will kill the king, Aristo, and wear his crown.
Pelaius is going to be representing who and what we are when we are living life as our younger adult self, when we're not aware, when we're just living life, not paying attention to ourselves. Most people do that and they live their entire lives that way. The reason this is a unique selection is because there are some people along the way that are going to go, oh my God, I need to change my life. That is who this is for, and that's where this picks up. So what we have right here, Pelaius, think of our own life. When you're a little kid, you're happy, you play, you start getting hurt, you start learning, you go to school. At some point you can look back, there's this period of growth and development where you gradually went from a happy kid to this adult that, has issues, that acts out, that does all manner of things that you might later think, oh my gosh, what happened to me? What happened? During that time frame that you are in that life experience, that is when you are Pelaius. That represents who and what we are at that time. When we're sitting there going, yeah, leave me alone. Life is this way because it's somebody else's fault. I am in charge. I'm taking over. Who are we taking over from? Arista, the old king. Thessaly is the kingdom. Thessaly is us. Thessaly is the world we wish to be in charge of, our experience, our life experience. Arista, the old king, that is who we are as the happy youngsters. We are now descended from that. Pelaius is descended from that. Everybody is descended from that in the story. You see that just happen here? Let's look at it again.
Elias, you will conquer tonight. You will overthrow the kingdom of Thessaly. You will kill the king, Aristo, and wear his crown.
All right, we're not really protected by Zeus. This is just what happens. It's a way to write the story. It's carrying the idea that at first the kingdom is not in its rightful hands. It has been taken over by your earlier self.
I will lay it on the fire as a thank offering to the gods.
Elias, it is also foretold that although you will win the throne of Aristo, you will, when Zeus ordains, lose it to one of Aristo's children.
This is just telling the early self, yep, you're taking over, you get charge, and it's out of everybody's hands. It's not in your hands, and it's not in anybody else's hands, but it's going to be taken back from you later on. You don't get to keep it forever. And we're going to find out that that is offspring of the original king. And so this represents the idea that there are parts of us later on in life that go, oh my God, I'm going back. That's a part of us all along that's been there kind of in the background, or just sleeping late and not ready to go yet, not yet called. We have to experience life before we get to that point.
Then Aristo will have no children.
He has 3, Pelaius. 2 daughters, Philomela and Brises, and a son, Jason.
Then 2 daughters and a son will die with their father tonight.
Okay, we saw that already. I don't want to continue this out. It will continue out, and this is how it can go. And the videos would have to probably be long and extensive as you talk through what you see kind of going on. And I'm sure if we shared ideas, we'd find more in here. And again, these are Hollywood representations. They're not completely accurate, and they're not showing everything. They're showing cool stuff. Oh, what do we like to do? They're mixing things up in, not in the Ten Commandments. They don't have that liberty, but sometimes in Greek myth, at least with the Argonautica, since there's different versions, they can kind of mix and match between the stories, and there is some of that going on. But it's all still visible. It doesn't matter. There could be different islands that have different sounds to them that are doing the same thing. So it's a good way to look at the analogs to see what they're doing. I want to show you or listen to one more line here. Check this out. This is from the goddess Hera, who is going to be watching over Jason.
Kill Jason, and you kill yourself.
Kill Jason and you kill yourself. Clever little way, I think, of saying we're all the same. These are all parts of us playing out inside of us. They are rich story component parts, ourselves at various times in our life. And when we were at those times in life, there were many parts of us then. And all of these stories are representing the people and the attitudes that they have and what they do and how they're managed. You'll notice in the Harpies or in other teachings like that, for example, we'll find where fallen angels, Sheol, Jewish hell, when you look at what you really see is that whatever this cyclical issue has been that has been defeated is being put someplace and rendered ineffective. And that would be analogous to the idea that we have had bad experiences that we remember and that hurt. And we've gotten rid of the hurt, but we haven't gotten rid of the memory. The memory's still there, but we have rendered this demon ineffective. Anyway, that's how I would do this as I go through it, as I read these. I'm going to do one on some verses coming up. My wife said she wants me to show something that I do. So anyway, hope this was fun. Let me know in the comments section if you, what you think of this. I guess I'll probably do it anyway. I'm not quite sure how to proceed, but this is a good way to get it visualized, I think. Beats the heck out of me talking about things that it takes a long time to gather up all the information, so it doesn't take as long to convey it as it takes to find it. Love one another. I'll see you in the next video.